Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for your daily dose of the roars as we scream about the stupid stuff going on both in the technology world and the wider macro environment so that I can earn some of the dirty YouTube money so I can fund the Silicon Dojo. SiliconDojo.com. We do free end user hands-on technology classes in Durham, North Carolina. We had one last night. If you're interested in attending a real in-person class, take a look at SiliconDojo.com to see what our schedule is. If you want to help support free end user education, there's a donut box link down below. And with that, we get to talk about my favorite subject. I was like, it's been so long since I've really been able to talk about layoffs, right? There was this whole burst of layoffs and it made me happy and put a smile on my face. I could talk about all the layoffs. But then the layoffs just kind of subsided. It just kind of subsided. It's like, crap, I guess I got to talk about Chinaman now. So for a long time, I was having to talk about Chinaman because there were not enough articles about layoffs. But no fear, no fear. Layoffs are back. And apparently, they're better than ever. This is coming from CNBC. Layoff announcements top 1.1 million this year, the most since the 2020 pandemic. That's right, we have had more layoffs this year since the middle of a fucking global health crisis. That's Trump's economy. Don't worry. Elon Musk will become a trillionaire. Like you may not be able to pay your rent or your mortgage. Your kids may have to sell their bungholes out behind the closest 7-Eleven. But the important thing to realize is that Elon Musk will become a trillionaire. Because that's what they call a K-shaped recovery. And let me just explain that. Let me just explain this. This is not a fucking recovery. This is how fucked up our current world is. I was watching CNBC, so my little guilty pleasure when I go travel, go to Durham, is these weird little Frankenstein omelets that Hampton Inn makes. I just love those fuckers. Probably no egg in them, but they're very good. And I'm watching CNBC. And the curious thing, when you watch CNBC now, is how serious they are when they talk about the K-shaped recovery. And you're like, no. That should be a joke. That should be a punchline. That's not a recovery. Literally stating the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. That's... Fuck me. But yeah, you'll see it. You'll sit there and you'll watch CNBC, and they will very seriously talk about this K-shaped recovery going on. But the big thing I want you to understand about this is that this is the reality, right? The big question, I guess, from some of my viewers is, how do I get a job? And one of the important things I want you to understand is with the macro forces going on right now, it is going to be becoming more and more difficult. One of the big things I want you to understand too is when I talk to my viewers, right? I actually do these one-on-one sessions. You know, I'll tell them about, hey, every week you need to do a project and you need to post it to GitHub. Just weekly. I don't give a shit what the project is. I would say add AI to it, but whatever. Do a project, put it to GitHub, right? Go out there, do volunteer work. Go and do these things to build your skill set. And I get from so many of the people that I'm talking to, why should I have to do that extra work if I'm not getting paid by an employer? It's like, well, because that's how our profession is. Like, I don't understand what's happening to kids. Kids kind of suck nowadays. Like when I was young, that was the thing. We had hobbies. We did work. We did other things, right? I had a buddy of mine. He was a small engine mechanic, right? So he would go to work every day at Sears. Sears actually at the time had a big old repair facility. So he got whatever. He got his wage, he got his benefits and all that. And then he would come home at night and he'd fixed motorcycles because he really liked motorcycles. Right? So he went to work and repaired like lawnmowers and things. And then he came home at night and as his hobby, he fixed motorcycles. Right? That's how it used to be, right? You know, I knew people in the construction world, right? And they go out and they build houses or whatever else during the day. And then they come home and then they'd have their deck system. I knew this one person Jesus Christ, motherfucker was bored. I swear to God, his deck system was like 3x the size of his house. It's like, have you seen my deck? You walk into his house, yeah, have you seen my deck? Yeah, you got a deck. And you walk out, it's like this fucking multi-tiered thing that just went for fucking ever. Right? Because, you know, that's what people used to do. Right? Because they had a skill set. They had a skill set that they enjoyed. They weren't passionate about it, but they enjoyed it. They liked doing it. It was a way to pass the time. And so when they would come home, they would tinker with other projects. But the thing is, as you're tinkering with those other projects, they're actually getting that experience, right? My buddy was getting experience fixing motorcycles. That guy's getting experience building fucking deck systems, right? And then if they need a job in the future, and people are like, okay, well, this is your job. What else do you have? It's like, oh, well, I'm also doing all these other things over here, right? And that's one of the things we used to do. Like when I was in college, right? I volunteered to get additional experience and things on the resume. But anyways, I can talk with a lot of young people right now, and by God, if a company is not paying them a significant wage, they will knock it off their fucking asses. Which, God bless, you do you. You do you, right? I will never argue with a successful person. If I'm like, wow, that doesn't seem like it'll work, and you're like, well, actually, I'm buying a yacht next week, I'll be like, fair the fuck enough. How do I argue with that? Here's the thing, if I'm like, that doesn't seem to work, and you're like, yeah, well, I am living on my mom's couch, it's like, well, maybe you should change some things. But anyways, yeah, layoffs are going through the roof. Because yeah, we are in a shit economy. Trump is fucking destroying the fucking economy. Biden did not do the economy any favors, to be clear. But it's kind of like when you're sitting there and you got like something and it's kind of like tottering back and forth, and then you have a senile, coked out bastard come in with a sledgehammer and start breaking the foundations. It's like, well, look, the person who built the shaky ass structure, like, you should blame him. It's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna blame Biden and Obama and Trump. Remember when Trump was president the other time? Yeah, all those fuckers have caused this building to shake. But right now, this second, I'm more concerned with a jackass running around with a sledgehammer trying to take out the foundations. Anyways. So this is something to think about. Like, it's real. Announced job cuts from U.S. employers moved further ahead of 1 million for the year in November as corporate restructuring, artificial intelligence, and tariffs have helped pare job roles, consulting firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas reported Thursday. The firm said layoff plans totaled 71,321 in November, a step down from the massive cuts announced in October, but still enough to bring the 2025 total up to 1.17 million layoffs. The total is 54% higher than the same 11-month period a year ago, and the highest level since 2020 when the COVID pandemic rocked the global economy. So under the Trump administration, layoffs are 54% higher. But again, Trump will never take responsibility for a good goddamn thing, will he? Right? If Trump walks into your living room, pulls down his pants, and takes a shit on your carpet, that was Biden's fault. But anyways, tech companies driven by innovation in AI listed 12,377 reductions, pushing the sector's 2025 total up 17% from a year ago. So again, the technology world, 17% increased in layoffs, and last year, 2024, had significant layoffs. Tariffs were cited as a driver of more than 2,000 cuts in November and nearly 8,000 year to date. The most cited reason for the month was restructuring, followed by closings and market or economic conditions. It is kind of funny how like tariffs are over here. Tariffs are only 2,000 layoffs. Market and economic conditions are all the other layoffs. Like, well, aren't tariffs part of market and economic conditions? Isn't increased taxation and the increased cost, isn't that part of the thing? No, that's not an economic condition apparently. All right, fair enough. Quote, layoff plans fell last month, certainly a positive sign. That said, job cuts in November have risen above 70,000 only twice since 2008, in 2022 and in 2008, said Andy Challenger, workplace expert, blah, blah, blah. November offered some relief from the more than 153,000 cuts in October, which was the highest total for the month in 22 years. ADP reported Wednesday that the private employers cut 32,000 jobs in November, the biggest decline in more than 2.5 years. Hiring prospects have been dim this year as well, according to the Challenger report. Employers have announced 497,151 planned hires, off 35% from the same point in 2024. And so that's one of the things to be thinking about this. Again, going out there and getting jobs. Not that long ago, right? If you get laid off, somebody else is hiring, right? That whole thing in the tech world. Don't worry about the Twitter layoffs. Don't worry about the Meta layoffs. These people will just get a job somewhere else. But here's the thing. Increasing layoffs, decreasing hiring, means there's a chunk of people there is no job there for. Let's see here. Despite signs of weakness elsewhere, Labor Department data has yet to reflect a surge in layoffs. That's probably because they're still figuring out what's going on after that idiotic shutdown. The department on Thursday reported that weekly jobless claims unexpectedly tumbled to 191,000, the lowest in more than 3 years. So that's interesting. So all of these layoffs are continuing to go up, but jobless claims are going down. Again, it's kind of curious. When the Biden administration put out numbers, that seemed a little bit weird. Everybody's like, well, that's Biden being corrupt. When the Trump administration puts out numbers, it seems a little bit weird. Well, no, that's what the real numbers are. That's what the real numbers are. The lowest in more than 3 years. Official data showed the decline of some 27,000 from the prior week was driven by unusually large drops in California and Texas, and likely was influenced by the Thanksgiving holiday. So that's basically what we've got going on. Layoff announcements of 1.1 million people up to this point in time, the highest since the COVID cluster of 2020. And it's probably only going to get worse from here. And that is just the brass tacks of the situation, right? I'm out there talking with people every day, and I'm telling you, I don't understand. And it is that weird thing. Like you look at the official numbers, and then you talk with actual human beings. And those things don't seem to correlate, right? You go and you see what's happening, and whether it's tariffs or anything else, and you're like, okay, this is how it should affect the economy. Massively increasing taxes on resource inputs should put a strain on business. That's not fucking rocket science, right? But then you see the official numbers like, no, the economy's doing fine. It's like, well, wait a minute. Trump literally came out and said they've got something like $100 billion in tariffs. So $100 billion in taxes that have gone toward that have hit the American people, and he's celebrating that as a win for like the Treasury, but then saying that has nothing to do with the economy. That does not affect American consumption at all. And you're like, so $100 billion is significant when you say it's good for you, and it's insignificant when it seems bad for you. Yeah, we're going in for a disaster, boys and girls. We're going into an absolute and utter snit show. This is gonna make the Great Recession look like a fucking play date. And I was there for the Great Recession, and the Great Recession was no fucking play date. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'll be curious to see basically how this all fleshes out. As I talk about the economy, dominoes keep falling. As I keep saying, I remember when Bear Stearns fell. I remember drinking a cup of coffee when Bear Stearns fell. And I remember not giving a shit that Bear Stearns fell. Boo-hoo, glad I'm not down. Well, about 10 minutes later, it was boo-hoo because the dominoes finally squished my ass. So I'll be curious to see how all this fleshes out, because when you look at it, the economy is just absolutely stupid at this point. And so that's where, again, I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong. I don't know if you should have to do it or you shouldn't have to do it. But you've got to start going out there and you have actually got to start competing for the fucking job market. You have to start proving that you are the best candidate for the position, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And the good part is right now, right, we've got so many lazy ass people anymore. It's not just young people, it's across the board that feel like they don't have to do anything, right? The employer should just come to them. So if you actually go out there and bust your ass, it might actually be a good time. Might actually be a good time for you. Right, I've been talking about this, right? The great cleansing of the tech industry. This might actually be a good time. You go in, you prove your value proposition, you build stuff, you move the ball ahead. This might actually be a good time for those people to actually succeed very well, as the great cleansing of the people that probably shouldn't be in our field happens. So what do you think about this? What do you think about 1.1 million layoffs up to this point in this year, right? That this is significantly up from this point last year. What do you think about the layoffs? Layoffs are up, hiring is down. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about the government numbers? How the government numbers are like, things are great. And then like actual people are like, this sucks. Right? Is it only fraud when Biden does it? Is it only fraud when the wrong president does it? I don't know. Inquiring minds want to know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing. Call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and put a strong American comment down there in the comment section. Do remember I do these videos in order to fund a Silicon Dojo, authority-less, gatekeeperless, free-to-the-end user, hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do in Durham, North Carolina. We just had a class last night. We have more classes coming up. Take a look at our schedule at silicondojo.com if you want to come to an in-person class. Do remember free-to-the-end user is not actually free. There's a donor box link down below if you'd like to support the project. With that, see y'all later.